Because even though in ancient Rome, gay male sex was pretty openly practiced, its educational intent was forgotten. It was in 226 BCE, new laws were put in place stipulating that only slaves could be subjected to penetrative sex. Of the first 12 emperors of Rome, all but one had boys or men as lovers. And Julius Caesar was in fact so notoriously bisexual that he was known as every woman's man and every man's woman. But the damage had been done. Sex was now written about as something fun but dirty, naughty, and deliberately disgusting. Many moralists within Rome criticized gay sexual relations even before Christianity came into the picture. The Greek traditions were remembered. Like, one touching story is that of the Emperor Hadrian. Damn, I forgot to put his name and dates here. And who, besides treasuring Greek culture, was seen as a temperate, capable, and intellectual statesman. His undying love for a beautiful, athletic youth named Antinous, who was on the right, became legendary after Antinous died in a swimming accident. Hadrian hadn't made into a god. He had his image carved in temples throughout the empire, from Greece to Egypt, so that he'd be remembered. And we also know there was a very peculiar new kind of people who were starting to interact with the Roman Empire back then. And these guys were weird. They were from the East. They had strange restrictions on what they ate, how they worked, who they had sex with. Who were they?
The Jews.
The Jews. Okay, I've got a bunch of notes on the Jews, but I won't read them because of time. So I won't talk about the restrictions against gay male sex, not female sex, mind you, and cross-dressing of all kinds, and how it reflected this deep fear and the culture of blurring simple categories. And so I won't talk about how. These are Leviticus 19. It's the chapter of Leviticus just before the chapter where they actually banned gay male sex. So, oops, I think I'm wearing cotton and polyester. I could talk about how, gay and lesbian Jews and later Christians found icons, whether they were gay or not, in the Bible itself to give them a sense of strength and heritage. But we don't have the time, do we? The important thing is basically that the classical ages were at an end. When the Roman Empire fell, partly because they had, it's arguable that they fell because they had converted to Christianity, which was a much less centrist and central power-based religion. Europe went through the Dark Ages, also known as the Middle Ages. St. Augustine's interesting because he was one of the early church fathers who argued against against homosexuality and really enshrined it as being this terribly evil sin. I mean, more evil than eating pork. And even though in his confessions he had admitted having a gay lover himself, he was one of those ex-gays. Actually, no, it was worse than being ex-gay because he didn't just leave his gay lover. His gay lover died. He also abandoned his black wife and his son to just be, to be sexless, and his son followed him, but I don't think his wife respected him terribly after that. The Middle Ages. So, Western Europe before Christianity was in fact pretty tolerant of homosexuality. This is from a ceremonial bog burial of what we think, a lot of people, seeing the poles they were buried in, assumed they were man and wife, until someone looked at the smaller one and wondered why she had hair on her chin. It's in a museum in modern Netherlands. I think a lot of ceremonial burials of people that took place in these bogs where they were swampland, where they were naturally mummified. And DNA has actually shown that these two men were unrelated by blood. I don't know, maybe they were just terribly good friends, but when Christianity came, things really changed. Disasters such as the plague of Justinian The Moorish, the Hungarian and Viking invasions of France were being blamed on scapegoats like the poor Jews and the homosexuals. The death penalty was enacted for male homosexual acts under various code systems. The Orléans legal school of France was extra special because they objected to lesbianism too. They demanded that women found guilty of lesbian acts have their clitoris removed for the first offense, second offenders would be further mutilated, and third offenders would be burned at the stake. But interestingly, there was some wiggle room, although we don't know that much about what people were doing at in the bottom rungs of society. Although one of my friends in the US is researching medieval Spanish prostitutes, lesbianism in graveyards. Well, we also know that if you couldn't hide at the bottom of society, you could hide at the top in the upper classes, like in those good old single-sex convents and monasteries. And we don't know exactly how much gay sex happened in here, although the later reformists did condemn them, but they were looking for any excuse to condemn the Catholics. But we do know, we've got these passionate letters that the great female mystic and philosopher, composer, Saint Hildegard, wrote to her fellow nun Richardis von Stahl. And we've got similar writings from the historian monk Saint Alred, to his deep friend Simon, and whose beauty forced him to immerse himself in a tank of icy water in order not to break his vows of celibacy. England had a few gay kings in the Middle Ages, including Richard the Lionheart, who was the great crusader, who is remembered as the good king who comes back to rescue everyone from King John at the end of Robin Hood. And in fact, one story tells of how his lover, the minstrel Blondel, went from castle to castle to search for him during his capture by singing a song that Richard would recognize. And Edward II, whose extravagance as a king was worsened by his youthful relationship with Piers Gaveston, the Duke of Cornwall. Eventually, his wife, Isabella of the She-Wolf of France, got sick of him and had a red hot poker thrust up his arse. I mean, there wasn't that much wiggle room in the end. Okay, I didn't intend that one. But luckily, what happened after the Middle Ages? Like, Cyril, you don't answer this one. Someone, what came after the Middle Ages?
Enlightenment.
Yeah, the Renaissance.
Sorry, Renaissance first.
Yes. History of porn, whatever. And Renaissance, as pretty much everyone knows, meant rebirth. So they were looking back to ancient Greece and Rome for culture, and that culture included, homosexuality. And we do have and because homosexuality was being condemned, we've got records to prove it. In fact, Leonardo da Vinci was tried at the age of 23 for buggery with a 17-year-old called Jacopo Santarelli, who was kind of a rebel at those courts. Shortly after painting The Last Supper, he actually ended up with his life partner, a boy called Salai, whom he met when he was 37 and the boy was 10. He likes, these androgynous young men. Whereas Michelangelo likes punks. We know this not just from popular repute, but also from the poems that he wrote, because his poetry was really, really good as well. He was a great painter, sculptor, architect, and poet. And in fact, it said of Michelangelo that even his women look like chimpanzees. But remember, this was not the same as Greece and Rome. These specialist guys, Leonardo and Michelangelo, and Donatello, by the way, if you are counting Ninja Turtles, Raphael was straight. They didn't get married. I mean, there was this new, self-supporting culture, there was this new sort of professional culture. They didn't see this need to cleave to this, this traditional, the old lifestyle. It's kind of the birth of our contemporary gay male identity. Oh yes, and as the Renaissance spread more, they got to England, and although there are more famous, were much more confirmed gay men.